All right, I'm going to record this one and hopefully you are able to see. Use the bikes. Anyway, um, this topic has come up actually quite a few times over the past couple weeks. So I just wanted to talk about knee pain. And oftentimes, when we do have joint pain, we are reluctant to do anything, right? We just want to rest it because when we move it, it hurts. But what if I told you actually not moving it could potentially make it worse? So we do know that when we move our joints, we create what's called synovial fluid within the joint itself. And when we stop moving that, obviously, that fluid is not going to be created. Add to that the fact that we've got changing hormones and we have a decrease in production of prolactin and elastin and collagen, which is really what helps our soft tissue really remain supple, elastic, and oftentimes it's why we feel much tighter, right, as we're getting older. So that's where tools like the foam roller come in, making sure that we're utilizing those tools to help the soft tissue stay a little bit more supple and improve blood flow to all of those areas. But again, a lot of times we're reluctant to do any kind of exercise because it hurts to move. So how can you strengthen the muscles that surround the knee joint without further injuring the knee joint or causing more knee pain? One of the most efficient and I would say easy things to do for your quads is squats, but it's a very knee dominant movement. So if you are really deconditioned, possibly overweight, or you just haven't really ever worked on strengthening those muscles, and now you're 50 and you're like, oh crap, how do I help myself? Where do I start? What I would tell you is to start by just using your body weight, right? So when you are setting up for a squat position, a couple of key things that you want to look for. Hopefully, yep, you can see my feet. Um, Foot position, the width of your feet really depends on what's comfortable for you. I tend to feel better. It also depends on the shape of your hips, right? I tend to feel better when my feet are just slightly outside my hips, my toes slightly turned out. And you want to initiate the movement at the same time from your knees and your hips so that you are actually not coming forward. So one of the things that I will see frequently just in movement mechanics, right? If as a woman you are quad dominant, which is normally the case, you're going to tend to want to move forward with your knees and oftentimes even move forward and collapse inward. Typically, when I see something like this, these muscles in here are going to be pretty overactive, and these muscles out here are like, I don't know what to do. Help me move. So there's different strategies that you can do to assist in that. But you want your knees and your hips to be moving back at the same time, right? So you can start with a body weight squat. Again, you see that I'm barefoot and I'm actually on one of those Nabosu mats that have these little prickly nubs on them, which really helps with activation of the nerves within the feet. So again, just making sure that you're moving your hips and your knees at the same time and thinking about reaching your butt back as if you're reaching for a chair. Oftentimes, if I'm working with a client and they don't have great squat mechanics or they start doing this, I will literally put a chair behind them and just tell them, go ahead and sit back, let your butt lightly touch that chair, and then come up from there. if I find that the whole valgus collapse, the knees turning inward happens, I'll put this around the tops of their knees or right above their knees so that they know, okay, I need to make sure that I'm pushing out into the bands to get this part of my quad working and not allow this part of your quads to take over, so to speak. The other tool that I love is a suspension trainer. And the reason I like this, again, is if you have knee pain or you might be really deconditioned, or again, you might have some excess weight that makes just regular squatting challenging. Hanging on to one of these guys, A, is going to give you a little bit more confidence. B, it's also going to give you the ability to take a little bit of the weight off so that you can use your upper body at the same time. So standing back, you want your elbows to be just slightly in front of your rib cage. You're going to sink down and back and then drive your feet into the ground and stand back up, making sure that you're getting full extension in your hips. So you can start there. When that starts to get easier, then you might want to go to a loaded squat and grab either a dumbbell or a kettlebell or a sandbag and start to add that weight. So little squat progressions and some little tips on how to avoid the knee pain. Oftentimes when you have knee pain, it's a matter of strengthening the muscles, again, that are supporting the knees, but also strengthening your booty and the glute med and the glute max, so that it just helps support the knee. All of this is connected down into here. So another great exercise I like is using the sandbag and again, using this guy, put it around your feet. I'm going to come up to the tops of my knees. And we're just going to bridge, right? So I like the sandbag because it gives you feedback. And also you are able to work across your body from shoulder to opposite hip, which what goes right through the middle of that is your core. So bringing your heels nice and close to your butt, I want you to think about driving your knees forward and holding the sandbag up above your rib cage and pulling the outside handles tightly apart so that I'm feeling my lats underneath my armpits engaged. From here, I'm pressing my feet into the mat and I'm lowering back down. So I'm just rolling through my spine and directing my knees forward, not allowing the knees to go out or in, and keeping the tension on the band that is around the tops of my knees so that the smaller part of the butt muscle is also having to fire, which is also going to help take some of the pressure off the knee joint as you're working out, and provide stability for you when you're walking. Another great exercise that I love is coming down onto your side. And again, this one uses a sandbag. You could use any kind of resistance. A dumbbell would work as well. But you're set up on this one. You're in a side plank. And I always say, start your elbow a little bit closer to your rib cage so that when you lift your bottom hip up, your shoulder is right over top of your elbow. And I'm going to bring my legs just slightly in front of me. My feet are behind me there. And I'm going to press up so that now I have a straight line from the crown of my head down to the knees. And I'm going to grab this guy and I'm just going to row. The elbow is slipping right around the rib cage. I'm feeling my my shoulder in a good way. I'm feeling my glutes and I'm also feeling that back. So again, it's about trying to access and strengthen the front the back and the side of your core, along with your glutes and your shoulder, so that we can make that knee stronger faster, right? And more stable. You want to make it a little more challenging, pick that top leg up and row in that regard. Okay, but making sure that anything that's touching the ground is really pushing into the ground, and anything that is above the ground, you're just moving slow and very intentionally. So great exercises for knee support. And then just one more that I'll go over. And again, I love these bands, and these in particular are nice because you can step through, and they're material, not elastic. So when you start to roll these guys up on your legs, it doesn't feel so bad. Usually what happens is they'll roll up into a tight little tight little line, and it feels like they're cutting off your circulation. So depending on how much resistance you want, you can bring it down here to the ankles, or it can be up higher, which would give you less resistance. And again, you could do this with a dumbbell. I do like using the sandbag just because I feel like you can get a little bit more from your lats when you use this. So grabbing the middle part of the sandbag, I'm actually gonna crank on it. So I'm trying to break the sandbag in half. Look at my feet. My toes are turned slightly inward, right? Oftentimes, because our certain parts of the quadricep or your quad muscle are stronger than other parts, you want to try turning your toes in, and it'll feel very different because naturally we want to turn our toes out. So just turn your toes inward a little bit. You're going to step forward as you press forward with the bag. And you notice as I'm stepping in, I'm keeping the tension on my lower body. So another great exercise to use for the knees, which really you wouldn't think about, right? Last one I'll show you is monster walking. So when you move forward and you step out, you're going to be feeling your quad and the outer portion of your thigh, a little bit of this glute med. And again, I'm really trying to keep the tension on the entire time, just easing up a little bit as I'm stepping forward. And then if you want to go backwards, you'll feel more glute and more hamstring. So same thing, I'm stepping in a little bit, but then I'm pushing out, and I'm not allowing my toes to turn out while I'm doing this. So any questions on knee pain and some stability and strengthening exercises that you can do? I'll open the floor here. Looking for questions. You guys on Zoom, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I was super happy to see Facebook actually worked today. I'm not seeing any questions. Anything from you guys online? Man, had a little cupping episode on Friday. That looks nasty, doesn't it? It felt nasty. Anyway, that's all I got. If you guys are watching this on the replay, let me know if you have any questions. Again, it's a catch-22 with joint pain, right? You're not doing yourself any favors by not moving, but then sometimes it hurts to move. So using the foam rolling tools, making sure that you're stretching, making sure you're doing a dynamic warm up, and incorporating some of these exercises into your workout, or maybe you have an active recovery day where you do exercises that are for those joints that are bothering you, whether it's your lumbar or your T-spine or your hips or your knees or your shoulders, whatever it might be. You can always just tag a couple exercises on after your workout so that you're still helping yourself out in those areas that are frustrating you and still being able to work out. I always say, no matter what my clients come to me with, I'll always figure out a way to help them accomplish something during that session. So there's always some kind of workaround. And, if you're in severe pain and it's lasting for an extended period of time, then generally I'm going to say, I think it's about time you go see the doc and try to figure out what's going on with your body because it's no fun being in pain. But especially as we're getting older and our bodies are changing, how do you adapt? And there are for sure ways to help yourself out and adapt your workouts so that you can still get a decent workout in. You can still work on building stability and strength and not lose, most of all, muscle by having to take time off. There's always a way to exercise. So, one of the things I did not show is a wall sit. So, wall sit is just an isometric position on your body or of your body sitting on the wall. And what you want to look for is 90-degree angles. And I'm pretty sure I put that in my video that should be coming out on Friday on email. So you can catch that one there. But if there are no questions, I'm going to go ahead and end this.